Welcome everybody. Now, if you would like to see a short tutorial on sandbags, please skip to the next video. For those who are sat there thinking to themselves, why is he saying skip to the next video? The simple reason is that I will be building this. This is a little vignette I found on the internet, and because it's got sandbags on, I thought I would mix the two, a tutorial on sandbags and also building a little vignette. And the video got too long that I had to split it up into sections. So this is the first section. So if you would like to see how this is, well, how I build it and weather it up and get it all done, please stick around. So I'm going to get set up now and we'll get started on it. Now, what I've got here is a piece of Celotex board. This is insulation. Now, you can pick this up very cheaply from builders merchants. It's very light, it's very strong, and it's 10 times cheaper than modelling foam. But if you've got modelling foam, use modelling foam. Now, this particular piece is cut. I've cut this at 140mm. That way, it's 100mm wide and it's 50mm deep. So the first thing we need to do is get this marked out and cut to some rough shape. Now, the actual little vignette that I'm sort of taking measurement, not actually measurements, because I can't really take measurements from it. I'm roughly using it as a rough guide. Now, if we roughly go about 15mm, well, it's not going to be that line there. So if we use that as our guide, so if we mark that as 15mm all the way around, like so that's going to be our first cut. And then if we work it out, say we go in 50mm, that'll be about right. So if we roughly go in 50mm, like so, do that on both ends, because I'm going to need to take this away and actually cut it outside. Can't make a mess of my shop. 50mm there. Put that into the line. These are only sort of rough cuts because we will be making it look a lot better. And also, if you notice on this one, they've actually got sandbags on the top. So what I'm actually going to do, we'll actually mark down about 10mm, like so, about 15mm inwards. So we're roughly going to cut out that sort of shape. So all this bit we're going to cut away. So I'm going to go off and get that cut, and then we'll go on to the next stage. Right, I've cut this down now. Very easy to do. I just used a handsaw, and we've got now the sump, the side of the trench and the top half. We're actually going to build this bottom up to make the firing step, but we're going to do that in sandbags. But first things first, now we've got that all done, what we need to do is just give it a straight coat of PVA. Now I'm just covering it in PVA because it's going to make it a lot easier later on to actually glue things to. So I'm going to give this all a coat of PVA, then put it to one side, leave it to dry, and then I shall come back to you. Now, the PVC isn't completely dry, but this is a good time now to actually get these planks on that we've got on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut some planks. These are going to be 4.5mm wide, and they're 0.8 thick, and they're just straightforward ordinary balsa wood. And with my little jig, which you should all know by now, I love my little jigs, I will cut some of the strips up and use them. We'll just put that to one side. Now I've already got some PVA. This is PVA with a little bit of black paint, just to make it that touch darker, just in case it oozes through, because we know PVA leaves a sort of like a white residue on the timber, and then it's very difficult to get, well, washes over it. It's easy to paint, but if you're just using washes on the wood, it makes it very difficult and you get light patches. So I'm just going to give that area a coat of PVA. I'm just remembering it's not fully dried yet, and then put that to in the water. I've got some pins as well, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay tweezers. I'm going to lay these planks all the way along the back there, like so. I'm just going to build that up, so at least when it's dry we have actually got something actually started. So I'll just move them in there, and also I'm going to put a couple of pins in just to hold it all down, and also just to try and get some gaps as well in between the boards, because we don't want them cladding tight. But you can see that because I'm not really watching the monitor, I'm watching more what I'm doing. So I'm going to run them all the way up. Other one in. But I'm only going to run them. I've got some ooze through there, that's not going to be good, but there you go. I'm only going to run them to the top, this section here. I won't try and get them any further, because later on, after we put the posts in, we can actually then probably fix a few more up if we need them, because this is all guesstimate. A few more pins. There we go, and we'll leave that to dry. I've also noticed on this little drawing, this little photograph, which I do like, which I'm going to incorporate, is this broken one here with a piece of wood that they've tried to repair it. I like that, that looks quite good. So I will include that as we go along. But basically now I've virtually finished with that as a reference, because I've got everything I need there. So there we go, we've got that far. I shall leave that to dry, and then I shall come back and we'll get on with the next bit. Now, I pulled the pins out, and earlier on we had some glue ooze through the actual joint. I'll get it into shot. And I tried to wash it off with a little bit of water, but it stained everything. And it's a happy accident, because that looks quite good, and I'm going to leave it. So when we do washes, hopefully that will stand out a little bit more. So that's that done. Now, instead of laying planks in the mud like it has on that photograph, I'm going to make some duck boards. Very, very easy to make duck boards are. Now I already cut a couple of pieces of timber, the length of the little, I keep calling it a diorama, but I probably will be corrected on that, vignette. Now I've cut them the same length as the vignette, and these are 3mm by 1mm thick. Now if you don't want to go off and buy balsa wood, grab yourself some of the coffee stirrers. They will do the job exactly the same, but I've got plenty of balsa wood, and that's the reason why I'm using balsa wood. Lollipop sticks, anything like that will do. Now I've got them two cut, and I've cut some pieces up. These are off the planks that I used on the back, and these are 20mm long, and they're the 0.8 thick. And all we're going to do is, if you do put together tank tracks, you've probably seen this done before. Now sticky side up like so, and all this is really is just to hold everything while you actually glue it. I hope I'm all in shot. Yes, I am, thank goodness. And what we do is we just stick these down on the tape, one at that side, use the edge of the tape as a straight edge, and we're just going to guesstimate it, because the simple reason is, I mean, if these were made, these duck boards, they would have been made a little way away from where they're actually being used. Probably wouldn't have been done by a carpenter, so they wouldn't have got out their carpentry tools to make this. They would have just literally cut some wood and nailed them together, so that will do nicely. All I'm going to use is super glue. I'm not going to go too mad, and it's going to be a very simple job of just some little drops of super glue, getting your ducting boards and just sticking them on. Now they don't have to go on perfect, because they wouldn't have been fixed on perfect, because believe me, if I was under fire and having to make some of these, they would be put together pretty quickly. And we just keep going along like so and build them up. Now once we've done that, now if you get your tweezers, turn around sideways like that, then just push in into each one, you'll get some nice nailed effects like so. I mean, you can do this as you're going along like that, push them nice and deep, and you've got some nice nailed effects. Now I'm going to get that done. Very simple. I'm actually going to make two of them. I'm going to make one for the firing step and one for the sump, identical. Right, I've completed the two little duck boards which we have got there. Now one of them will be sat on top of sandbags to make the firing position, and the second one is going to go like into the sump. Now what I would like to do now is get them there, because on the photograph there's posts. Now I'm not going to put the posts where they've actually put them. I'm going to put them nowhere near. This is I've forgotten now. It's about 3mm. Yeah, it's 3mm by 5mm, and these are just offcuts that I've got. But what I'm going to intend to do is I'm going to put a post at the end, this end, and a post level that end, and then one in the middle. Now the reason I'm going to be doing this is because instead of just painting this outside black or putting a piece of cardboard around, I'm thinking of just using the planks and planking this front and sides. and then just putting a small bit of trim at the bottom just to finish it off and make a base. So that's the way I'm going to be doing that. So I'm going to get on now and just glue these three pieces should I say, in position, and I shall be back in a second. Right, I've got the posts all stuck in, and I'll just turn that round to one side here. This one and the one the other side, I've sunk it just a fraction, for the simple reason is that I found this piece of balsa wood which is going to make a nice little trim all the way around the front. So I'll set it back just so that the balsa wood actually comes flush with each other and doesn't stick out. And then this part here, if I turn it around, this part here will just plank out all the way to the top, and then just make this bit soil at the front of the trench, and hopefully, well, no, that should look nice instead of just painting it black, because I don't like this just paint it black and leave it. So now on to the important part. This is the bit that probably everybody's been waiting for. We'll get on and we'll get some sandbags made.